Salute to all the diehards. This is Diehard Giants Live, and I am your host. I am Terrell on IG and Twitter. Welcome to the Week 7 look ahead. The Commanders come to MetLife Stadium to face the New York Giants. Um, we actually have a 1 o'clock game this week after having four primetime games in the past 6 weeks. This is like a breath of fresh air to me. I actually like the 1 o'clock games for us. And plus, as a football fan, you get the game out of the way so you can enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Let's get it going. Like I said, the Commanders are coming to MetLife. The Commanders are 3-3. Um, Giants are 1-5. You already know how we've been playing. I think it's going to be a good division matchup. You never know when it comes to division games who will win. They always are fought hard matchups. Um, yeah, Commanders are a really good team. We'll get into the key players just like we always do. But yeah, this is going to be a tough game. Now for the injury report, you see Andrew Thomas and JMS are going to be out again. Our starting center and starting left tackle. Matt Pert, who is our swing tackle. He's also hurt. The Giants' offensive line is pretty much looking like a jigsaw puzzle for the past 5 weeks. We are one of the leaders in sacks and pressures, and this is a reason for it. Usually, an offensive line, if you have a good offensive line, you have to have some type of camaraderie. Um, a good offensive line is usually a healthy offensive line. We have not been all season. So that is a big part of our troubles. Um, and our troubles has a lot to do with Daniel Jones, too, since he is our quarterback. The New York Giants, let's just say it's hard to protect Daniel Jones from here on out. Like when you come to the excuses on whether it's the offensive line or him, because Tyrod Taylor actually did do a pretty good job last week. Not saying that he lit it up, and he did make a few mistakes that we'll talk about. But Tyrod Taylor is definitely a viable backup. I actually think he's going to start again for us. Daniel Jones, I know this is late Saturday afternoon, so I don't think the official um, injury report has came out, especially when it comes to Daniel Jones, whether he's going to play tomorrow or not. But I think he's on the wrong side of questionable, and I don't think he's going to play. I think he's going to sit out another week. When it comes to Dory Jackson and Evan Neal, I actually do think they probably will play because they did practice this week at least. Daniel Jones, I don't think he did any team practices. He did practice throwing, but I don't know if he did any first team reps this week. So I think it's going to be another week of Tyrod Taylor. For team stats, you already know the Giants are going to be close to last in the bottom five in every team category so far this season. Points scored, yards against every game, um, points against, yards per game. They're all going to be in like the bottom 10 of the league. I know it is early in the season, but we've had a pretty tough first 6 weeks, man. So 32 points scored, 30th yards per game, 28th points against, and 27th yards against, respectively. Our defense definitely played better last week versus Buffalo. But our offense is still a little stagnant, and it's going to be hard to score. We haven't scored a touchdown, I think, in the last 3 games. It might be the last 3.5 games. I'll have to actually look that up, but I know we haven't scored a touchdown in a very long time. But you already know why that is. Our offense has been struggling. For the Commanders, they're in the middle of the league when it comes to points and yards. Pretty much their defense. I understand it says points against 29th in the league and yards 27th, but they have been playing a lot of good offensive teams. When you look at their defense, though, they have a very, very impressive defensive line. We'll talk about that when we get to the key players. But I do know they lead. They don't lead the league in sacks, but they are in the top 10, I believe. I think they're around like fifth or sixth. when it comes to sacks. So I understand that it says 29th points against, so you would think that they are a bad defense, but they are not a bad defense. Like their strength pretty much covers our weaknesses. They get after the quarterback. We have a huge problem with that. So yeah, it's going to be definitely be a tough game, and we'll see what Brian Daboll has for Tyron Taylor to scheme up to see if we can score a few touchdowns this week. So, like I said, I don't believe Daniel Jones is going to play. He hasn't been officially ruled out yet. I don't believe at the time of this video, but Tyrod Taylor had 200 yards even. I mean, I'm trying to say, what can I say about Tyrod Taylor? Because he is a backup quarterback. You don't expect him to come in and just start throwing it all around the place, but he did have 36 pass attempts. He throws a pretty good long ball. He hooked up with Darius Slayton with 4 receptions with 69 yards. He had a pretty good day. Saquon Barkley was kind of bottled up in the first half, but as you can see, he ended up with almost 100 yards because he had a few long runs in the second half. But you already know that our offense is always going to be judged with our offensive line, how far we're going to go. So Justin Pugh finally signed to the official 5-man roster. We signed him for the rest of the year, I believe, coming straight off the couch, like he said. He started the left guard for us last week. Joshua Zulu went down, so they moved him to right tackle. It was the first time he played right tackle in like 5 or 6 years. And he didn't do, terribly. Obviously, he's not going to be like an all-pro level lineman at this point of his career, especially since he hasn't played in almost a calendar year with a torn ACL, but he's definitely been serviceable so far. Last week, I actually gave him an A+, even though he wasn't obviously the best blocker out there, but from the circumstances that he was hit with, that he did an awesome job, and hopefully he could do an awesome job with us going forward. Now for defense, our linebackers have pretty much been killing it for us so far this year. I know we had a lot of missed tackles, but it wasn't all on our linebackers. Bobby Okereke, the leader of our defense, has really, really played well. I'm very, very impressed with him. Micah McFadden, our second year linebacker, starting alongside Bobby Okereke, is flying all around the place. Also, he got an interception tipped by Bobby Okereke versus the Buffalo Bills. Xavier McKinney is our emotional leader out there in the defensive backfield. Deontay Banks has been playing well his rookie season. Not much more I can say about the defense, but we did have a very, very good game versus Buffalo. I don't think we got any sacks, but we did pick Josh Allen off one time, like I said, by Micah McFadden. We held him to 14 points. The Bills are a high-powered offense, but our defense actually stepped up, made not a Hall of Fame caliber, but made a MVP caliber player and quarterback in Josh Allen look a little pedestrian out there, man. Like he had a very bad game. He had a couple good throws, obviously, because I think he had 2 touchdowns. But yeah, if we can play like that throughout the rest of the season, knock on wood, we'll be all right. Like that, our defense is definitely not the reason why we lost last game. I mean, the score was 14-9. Can't really ask that much going against Buffalo, but our offense definitely needs some work. But the defense has definitely been playing well, and hopefully it'll turn over to this week. Now for the Commanders, Sam Howell is playing pretty well. It's not like he's he's not Peyton Manning or anything like that, but their second year quarterback, Sam Howell, is actually, not done a terrible job. He kind of holds on to the ball a lot. So you would think because of our offensive line, we lead the league in our quarterbacks getting sacked, but actually the Commanders lead the league in sacks. Like their offensive line isn't as bad as ours is, but Sam Howell does hold the ball a lot. He's a mobile quarterback, so you have to actually pay attention to him rolling out of the pocket and actually picking up yards with his legs too. He's a very, very good runner for his position. So I know it says that he got 141 yards in the air, but he can get some yards on the grounds too, especially on third down, third and short. Definitely might have a spy on him because he will run and try to get the first down for his team. He scored 3 touchdowns last week. So you really got to look out for him, even though he's only a second-year player. Brian Robinson is a very, very good running back. I like their running back room with Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson. He obviously didn't have that many yards last week, but they did beat the Falcons 24-16. Terry McLaurin, all-star, Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver, would definitely have to put a hat on him every play, or he can tear our defense apart just like any other good wide receiver can. He might not be top 5, but he's definitely maybe top 15, top 10, top 15, depending on who you're talking to. Terry McLaurin can definitely play. They also have Curtis Samuel, a good tight end, Logan Thomas that can get some yards down the field. Diehard Dotson, he hasn't had a very good year so far, but he is probably the fastest player on their team, and we would definitely have to look at Diehard Dotson too, put a hat on him. Their offense, they're not the Buffalo Bills like we played last week, but they can score on us if we don't watch out, man. Especially with their running game, and I know we do have a little bit of problem stopping the run. Brian Robinson Jr. is a very, very hard runner. I like him. He's a second year guy, just like Sam Howell is. I liked him coming out of the draft. I was actually hoping that the Giants, not to replace Saquon, but to be like our secondary back, we could have got Brian Robinson in the mid rounds, like 3 to 6. That's kind of what his draft grade was. I was hoping that we drafted him. It didn't work out. He went to the Commanders, and he's having a pretty good career so far in his second year. Now for the defense, I didn't put any of their defensive line on here because I will almost have to talk too much about them. Like they have 4 first-round draft picks on their defensive line. Jonathan Allen, Payne, who was Montez Sweat. Like let's just say they can get after the quarterback. Chase Young. They have 4 first round picks on the defensive line, and we have a Swiss cheese offensive line. So that should tell you that it's going to be a very hard game for us. Their linebacker, Cody Barton, had 15 tackles last week, so he's flying all around the place. Curl and Fuller lead their defensive backfield. Fuller with an interception last week with 9 tackles. Curl with 11 tackles at safety. Like I said, they're not, when it comes to their defense, they give up a lot of points because their corners and their linebackers might be a little lackluster when it comes to like star potential, but their defensive line is legit. Like we're going to have a very tough time moving the ball on them if we don't get our blocking schemes together. Other than that, yeah, it's going to be a short show, man. It's not really much to say. Both of these teams are trying to crawl up from the bottom of the barrel in our division. The Commanders obviously have a 2-game lead on us, being 3-3, and we're 1-5. But if we do have a chance to get a division win this year, it would probably have to be versus the Commanders. We play them again, I think, in 3 more weeks. But this is our first division game against them. I don't expect to sweep them because they are a good team. They are a good coach team with Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy over there. I don't expect this to be easy. We definitely have to play, especially their defensive line. I know I keep bringing them up, but their defensive line is monstrous when you look at them on paper. We're going to be hard pressed to try to block everybody at the same time. Because of everybody on that line, they don't really have to blitz much. And with our offensive line, they definitely would not have to blitz much against us. Like they will be able to get home to Tyrod Taylor just from rushing those 4, man. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough game. Like I said, it's going to be Sunday, 1 o'clock. We're going to be here, or I'm at least going to be here on halftime, or maybe in the beginning of the third quarter. It all depends. Probably going on like around 2:30 ish, 2:45 ish, whenever the halftime is. Hopefully, Steph from Dope Soul Sports Talk and Eru from Diehard Knicks will be there. They usually join me, not every week, maybe not every week, but they usually join me during the show. We always have a good time, and you can see our live reactions um, during the game. And speaking of the Knicks, tonight, Simeon Russell from Nothing But Knicks is having a get together at Legends Bar to start the Knicks season. The Knicks actually start their season Wednesday night against the Boston Celtics. I know this is a football show, but if you are a Knicks fan and you are a basketball fan, Nothing But Knicks, you can't go wrong with them. Simeon Russell always gives a good show. He throws a good event. I've been to an event like this that he's thrown at least 4 or 5 times now. They're always pretty good. You're going to see a whole bunch of NBK affiliates there. Steph will be there from Dope Soul Sports Talk. I mentioned her before. I believe Eru from Die Hard Knicks will be there. And you know the usual characters in NBK if you ever check us out. So I'll be there. God willing, is tonight, Sunday. I guess if you're watching this today, Saturday. I'm sorry. If you're watching this, it's going to be Saturday night, 7 o'clock, 7 to 11 at Legends Bar. And the address is 6 West 33rd Street, New York, New York. It's a free event, so come through, chill with us. We'll talk about the Knicks real quick. I believe Simmons actually having a live show there, a live podcast on YouTube. So check us out. If you see a big dude just over there chilling, eating wings and French fries and drinking on a little something, that's me over there chilling. So come check us out, man. Like I said, tonight, 7 o'clock. And I think that's the show. So hopefully the Giants can get their second win of the season. I know I'm trying to say this because I'm not a tanker. I'm not the type of person that believe in tanking, especially when it comes to the players. The players aren't going to tank. We would have to. I think you would notice if the Giants are tanking after the trade deadline. If you see us trade a starter or two, you would know the direction we're heading. Because 1-5, almost maybe being 1-6, 1-7, depending on how these next games go, it's not going to look good. And at that point, you, as an organization, you might want to look at draft position. But as of right now, it's still early. Um, I don't think we're making the playoffs, honestly, but that doesn't mean we still can't fight. So, like I said, I would never say that we're just going to tank this early into the season, but you'll see once the deadline comes whether Saquon Barkley going to be traded, maybe Leonard Williams, Xavier McKinney. You never know who's going to go and what Joe Shane is actually thinking in his office. So, we'll see. I'll check y'all out tomorrow. See you at halftime. Peace.